When we first began, back in 2014, doing Photo Friendship, I don't think we would imagine we'd still be doing it in 2020. I guess in the back of our minds we thought, wouldn't it be nice if this keeps going?
It was nice to see someone inside of someone else's life and see what they think and what they like.
It's much more engaging to see a country through the life of other young people, very personal stories. It's not, a history lesson or a geography lesson, and people don't realise that, East Timor is like one of our closest neighbours and it's so different than here, and yet there's a lot of common ground. So we're the Photo Friendship team here in Australia. I'm Tammy, and here is Eva.
Hello, I'm Eva.
And Wendy.
And I'm Wendy, yeah.
Yeah. And we wanted to just start by thanking you so much for being part of this project. So you've got to start off just by taking lots of photos. Use the camera as your eyes and take photos wherever you go. And if there's anything that you really want to include, then think about what photo you might show to illustrate that interest or that quirky thing about you. We're not looking for the opera house. We're looking for stuff that will give kids in East Timor insight about your lives lived here in Australia. And if you want to make... Photo Friendship it's a photo voice project which connects kids in East Timor and in Australia through photo stories that they create themselves. So kids take photos and then it's complemented with some text to tell a story of their lives, and then those stories are exchanged between the two countries. This is a weird year, and it would be really interesting for you to capture this moment in time for yourselves. Like, this is a beautiful, like a visual diary for you to keep.
I've been going to East Timor for nearly 10 years. Originally went there to visit some filmmaker friends of mine. It just kind of snowballed that I just fell in love with the country and met other people and kept going back to do more teaching, and finally ended up living there for about a year.
Going over to visit Wendy, it was such an eye-opener. I wanted to be doing some kind of volunteer work overseas, and it was just the perfect opportunity to do something that was targeted towards both our skills.
We both went to film school together, so we're filmmakers, so we can't go in there and help with the we're not doctors, we can't go in there and help with the health system, so what can we do with our skill set?
Or building.
Yeah, or building.
That wouldn't be a particular skill that I could bring any expertise to.
So, because I get that a lot, why do this? The arts is always something that's always the last thing you think of, but we're using our skills to try and make a difference.
Hello, Karamaka High School. Welcome to Mobisi.
So this is the school in Mobisi. It's a technical college where they do a lot of farming and they do a lot of growing of vegetables and so on, and you'll learn more about that through the stories. Yeah. There are 10 students there doing the project. Yeah, no, very different kind of setup than Australian schools. No computers. A few of them have phones, but most of the students, none of them have used cameras.
Colega sira husi Australia, hakar ka aprende quando va Timor, tamba Australia ho Timor vele é diferente.
Okay, how hakara ka tu iha escola Kabramat High School tenser hatene kata iha Timor Leste iha buat balon especial tepteves liuli iha cultura. Tamba iha cultura iha Timor Leste ema aprende o insama respeito malu hadomi malu nomos belle contenti hamutuk iha moris.
Eva here was part of the very first Photo Friendship.
Eva, what did you learn when you got the pictures back from Australia, when you were involved in Photo Friendship? What did you like seeing? What was interesting?
Yeah, I was really interested to see because education in my country in Australia is really different, and I see a lot of kids like they have computer in their classrooms and a lot of advice, but in my country like there's just only table and chair. So that was really like, oh my God, is that the outside world?
In some places we've been to, outside of Dili, it's the first photos they've got of their family members. Like, they don't have any photos except what they've taken for this project.
Or
which
even
is
seen a camera.
Yeah. So it's also record keeping for their family. So it goes beyond, their own lives into the lives around. We take it for granted that we've got a million photos of stuff. What I wanted to say is that we really are grateful for this opportunity to get to know you. But of course, what you share, what you choose to share and what you choose not to share is completely up to you in this. And it's very important to us, the Photo Friendship team, that people understand that they own their own stories. And that you really, this is an opportunity to share what you want to, and to also keep private what you want to. Really, we want you to enjoy it and just share as much as you feel comfortable sharing.
I decided to be part of the project since it was an opportunity I could just, grab, since not many. My whole life I've been very shy to get new feels for everything, missing out lots of opportunities, so I just thought this is something I could just grab.
Yeah, I would really love to meet them because I wanted to know how they interact, firstly, and how they live the day-to-day compared to us.
I wanted to be able to connect with the people from East Timor.
I don't know much about East Timor, so I wanted to get an aspect of their lifestyle and how they live and stuff. We can both learn something from each other.
If you go to Delhi and you compare it to Sydney, it's a very poor place. But then if you go from the districts and compare the districts to Delhi, there's another divide as well. I don't know the exact statistics, but I believe the literacy rate, in Delhi may be around 70-75%, but you go into the districts and it's 25%. They've got so many stories to tell, but not the means to tell it. It's not a country where they have art at school, they don't have literature, they haven't got the opportunity to express themselves. So that's a really important contribution I think we can make, is that, about their identity and thinking about that and what they want to do for the future.
The other big part of it was for Australians to learn about their closest neighbour through stories that are told by the kids themselves.
One of the most memorable rounds we did was when we were up in Hattabaliko. You couldn't get more isolated. It's right up in the middle of Timor, up at the foot of the highest mountain. Actually, it's so high it gets cold there in the evening. It's a very poor community. They're all subsistence farmers. The kids in the school, often some of them were walking 2 hours to school each way. We give them the cameras. We didn't know what was, going to come back. One of the most powerful ones, I remember both of us were remember the one of the somebody's grandfather that was lying down and he couldn't walk. He's just laying there. To get him to a hospital, because nobody's got cars, they'd have to carry him for 4 hours to get to a hospital. But what was also very special is I could have gone to their house, but I wouldn't have got those photos, because why they got that intimacy is because they're taking the photos themselves of their families.
A big part of the process is also talking about ownership of story. Stories are used everywhere now to sell things, and I think people in developing countries are quite open to exploitation.
I've been teaching the Timorese how to make films and made films with them, but given them authorship, and that's very important, that as white people going in, that they own the stories, that they're happy with what we're telling and that we're not taking from them. That's vital. I don't know how much you've been told about East Timor, but it's right next door to Australia, yet it's one of the poorest countries in the world. So life there is very, very different to ours. Many of the Photo Friendship students would have had relatives who either fought or died during the fight for independence from Indonesia. And the Timorese during that time suffered many years of brutality and starvation. In 1999, the Timorese actually voted to become independent from Indonesia. And many Australians were actually a part of the United Nations mission that helped restore peace.
You want the words to add more to the story. You don't want it just to say, here I am at school. You want it to say something about what education means to you, or what being at school means to you. Your words really give much more texture and context to the story. So think about them. When you choose your final pictures, and we're here to help with that process as well.
This is somebody who's taken a photograph of his aunt and told the story. My aunt sells donuts for 5 cents each. She wakes every morning at 4:30 to cook them and starts selling them at 7 a.m. Sometimes she makes as much as $10 a day.
Just show us one of the stories that you like, or one of the photos, and tell us why. Just to get your input and to get you thinking about that as well.
The reason I really love this is because my hobbies is it's playing games and also like traveling and going outside. So the house is outside. It shows the environment and how different it is from their place and our place.
Rachel, tell us about what you liked. Which story?
I like the picture sunrise because I really enjoy sunrises and sunsets because the contrast of colors in the sky, and it's just so peaceful, and it's one of the most beautiful times in the day.
Well, now Eva will share her photos, and then that will give you a little bit more of an insight into her and another Timorese life.
This is self-portrait. I really like flowers and I really like doing gardening. So I took this photo to represent that this is who I am. In Timor, there's not many supermarkets. I think there's only 2 or 3. So basically people sell fruit on the road. So this is where I can buy fruit for myself. This photo I want to show to people, to kids in Australia, that in Timor we have a really big family. So that's my 2 sisters, and I just show to people that I'm a really lucky person because I've got 2 mothers. One is Timorese and one is Australian mother.
The first time I ever went to Timor, my friends that I was staying with were in the process of adopting, and I went to the orphanage. And I met these 2 girls and heard their story, which was quite horrendous of what they'd been through. So I said that I wanted to help. So I started off sort of being their sponsor, and 10 years later they're both living with me here in Australia. They're not formally adopted, they're still Timorese citizens, so they're both here as international students. Dominguez, the younger one's just finished her high school certificate here in the Blue Mountains, and Eva's hoping to go to university next year. When we first began, back in 2014, doing Foto Friendship, we're trying something out at the beginning, and just to see how it went, really. So Eva played a very vital role in helping us to recruit the students, because of course we needed a translator. So she was one of our facilitators, really. The most common language is Teton, so all the students we've worked with, we're communicating and translating through Teton. When we were there, Eva sort of suddenly brought one of her friends over, named Anas, who spoke English from watching movies, and he was terribly enthusiastic, and he very enthusiastically wanted to help as well. All these years later, Anas is our facilitator at the moment, and Eva's here and working with us, so they've carried all the way through as well.
Working with Temi and Wendy is a new thing for me because my background, I'm not a journalist specialist or journalist background. So working with them, it's not hard and it's not easy too. But the thing is, they are very good. They are really good mentorship. They're really good mentorship, and they always help me in everything I did.
This year, Anas has gone back to his hometown of Mabisi, and that's very important for him because he's got some history there. So he's got an amazing story to tell.
Aumores iha Mabisi, iha tinan rihong ida atusia sianulu resin lima. Hauoam badalanen husi mawale na hitu no saihanesan wan mane mesa. No hau considera importante iha familia. Hau ni aman makliurai iha mobisi. Iha funularan nia saihanesan organizador fornese aiham bafununain sira iha foho. Wahira militar Indonesia haten kono baidane sira oho nia. Hau ne inan lakong ninia konfiansa haresa deba normal. Tambane hau bahela ya orfanato.
I grew up in the orphanage for 20 years. Since then, in 2015, after the first photo forensic project, I finished my high school. And then working with different companies, different organizations. I have my own business, and now I pay for my own fees and also the other expenses that I have in life.
Training up locals to do the project in Timor, and with us sort of, liaising with them over the wonderful internet.
Yeah, and that is a big part of it, is that, not only the photo stories, but also training up local people in East Timor to become facilitators of the program, so they're paid. The rest of it's a volunteer project, but people in the facilitators in East Timor are trained and paid. And each year we try and train a new cohort who learn from past ones, from Eva and us. We're almost making ourselves not, I mean, we're
that would be the best if we were redundant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What we're doing is asking young people what's important to them, and it's the commonalities, which it's not surprising, but it's about family, it's about friendship, it's about the place you live, it's about aspirations for the future.
It was quite similar to in Cambodia, where my other relatives lived in. The rural areas kind of reminded me of how it was like in Cambodia.
In HSIE, we have studied East Timor before, and there were definitely some similarities with places I've been in. When I'm traveling, some rural areas in Vietnam, there were definitely similarities.
I feel like we're similar because we're all human and we all go through the same emotions and we go through the same challenges and stuff. So I feel like that's a similarity.
I'm going to start showing a few images that have just come through from East Timor with the stories. This one is called Traditional Clothes. Someone read this one out?
My friend's grandfather. He's dressed in traditional clothing. In the past, the king of each district wore these clothes every day. Today, people only wear these clothes at important events. I'm happy to see Timorese people still wearing traditional clothes.
It's so interesting, isn't it, that I guess every item of clothing there has a meaning. There's a pride to him being in the picture. He seems happy to be in it. It's interesting for us because it's quite different. Even the background where it is sets the scene. So this one, I just love this picture. This is Joanna. It's a self-portrait. She's obviously asked someone to take a picture of her in a place that's really important to her. And it's not your normal selfie. And also just where she's praying is just a very different kind of place than you'd expect for me. And so I find this picture quite moving and revealing about Joanna. Will someone there read out the story, please?
As an altar girl in Mavis Church, I always accompany the priests if they have to go to celebrate Mass in rural areas. I really like church activities because I want to thank God for every beautiful thing that I have in this life.
Thank you. And it's nice that the text kind of gives you a bit more information.
From their photos, I get a sense that they're very passionate people with a strong connection to each other and, their religion and beliefs.
For here, we touch more based on our hobbies and interests, but I feel like theirs more about religion and their culture. And so I feel like that was the difference between both of ours.
Even though Catholicism is very strong in Timor-Leste, however, people still practice the animism beliefs. Before the religion brought to Timor-Leste, this is what we believe. We believe in the woods and also in the stones. This is what our ancestor has left for Timor-Leste. So nowadays, if you can see in the church in Maubisi, in front of the church, they have an altar for the cultural beliefs. We join these two beliefs together because then people can understand that you can believe in God through the woods and also the stones that our ancestor has left for us.
taking this as my self-portrait is because, you know, it shows my Japanese culture.
That's beautiful. So it's so well thought out and beautiful picture. Okay. What we might do is because we've got to get the words down to be quite short, we might just, but that's easy enough. Show me the next one.
This is my journal, and I use a journal because, you know, in a few years' time I might change as a person, and then I can see how much I've grown, like what I've learned, and like the different opinions that I have.
I love this self-portrait. That's definitely, I think, the one that you should have as the key picture. Who took it?
My teacher took it.
The colours are beautiful too, aren't they? So do you have several instruments?
No. So this one would be my one.
Yep.
First time I saw it, I was like, Dad, it's not bad. And I told her to take some more just in case. And like, this one's one of the best ones that just came out.
Eu gostaria de estudante ser Australia foto mas Alice Polo tamba ninia expressa ninia sentimento no ninia animal ia foto ia jornalista de arte. Jornal de arte.
My friends and I were eating at our favorite restaurant. We always come here. It's really delicious and cheap. We usually go here after school and we always have so much fun.
Wow. It engages you on a number of levels, and some kids take it in a very literal way and others are much more philosophical about it.
The composition of the photo and how it reveals the personality. That they're a leader, confident, yeah.
There are some kids who are just standouts, either in the photography skills, you know, kids who've never picked up a camera before, really thoughtful young people who just find this project, you know, something that they can grab hold of and do, you know, do something extraordinary with. And I think that's always going to excite me, like working with young people and having them express how they feel.
This is me with my kazoo and using a banana as a phone in the sink. My kazoo is one of my most prized possessions. I live to be as eccentric as possible while keeping order. Yeah.
When I first saw that one, it really captured my eye. This is our house, which is very simple but full of love. I thank God because this house protects my family and I from the rain and the hot sun.
Natong halo exposição ne Augusta teve foto de Husi Australia, honaran kolean honaran Zolanda Lu. No Augusta teve foto ne tamba ihan ba andar misak furak misak aslos bebe aumu sakarka ihan futura mi kata ambro si ba visita hen san.
Knowing that there's people that were struggling with education by traveling like 3 hours away and being more grateful about what I have right now.
And they'll show you photos and you just go, there's just that moment when you just see something that's just gold and you know that's going to really speak to both cultures and to people beyond that.
I'm amazed how schools both in East Timor and in Australia have embraced the project. We were a couple of, you know, stray filmmakers who've come in and want to do something in the school and they've felt that it's worthwhile. I think that's been immensely satisfying to me.
Next time on Compass.
Sometimes I think I go where other piano tuners won't. Because you never know where that's going to lead.
This is my mother's piano. This is part of me, my heart connection with my mother with music.
It wasn't out of any copying an Amish culture, but through biblical teaching.
Not only have I helped with the piano, they've had someone to talk to.
The Piano Tuner. Next time on Compass.